Government and have written to BEIS and the Treasurer seeking further clarification on when businesses can reopen, what treatments they can offer, and further advice on the use of PPE, and calling for an extended financial support to help the industry to get back on its feet. Now we want to better understand another part of the industry, which is online platforms. We're keen to know what the impact of coronavirus has had on online platforms, what they are doing to support the bricks and mortar side of the industry, and how online operators ensure businesses using their platforms will comply with social distancing measures once restrictions are lifted. And crucially, we want to know what further support the industry will need as lockdown restrictions are eased and we can once see the industry thrive again. But before I introduce the speakers, I'd like to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and that recording will be made available online. And in this session, we'll be hearing from Georgia Rossi, the Chief Operating Officer at Treatwell, Jack Tang, the Chief Executive Officer at Urban, and Abby Selby, the founder of spabreaks.com. So I'd like to introduce the speakers today, and I'll let them introduce the speakers. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the panel for questions. But welcome everybody, and if I could now welcome Georgia Rossi from Treatwell. And Georgia, you've got about 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
Well, guys, thank you so much for having me and for inviting Treatwell to be part of what is obviously an incredibly important group and for an incredibly important industry, not just for the UK, but all across Europe. Obviously we want to leave most of today for discussion, and I know you've got a number of questions and hopefully we can help. But maybe I just will provide a little bit of context around Treatwell and our role in the industry and how we sort of play, so that you know sort of my perspective and where I'm coming from. So some of you may have used Treatwell before, but let me assume that a sort of broad stroke would be helpful. Treatwell is Europe's leading online marketplace for booking hair and beauty. So we do two things. We help customers discover, book, review, check out, sort of do the entire online process behind the appointment making, whether that's for a new salon partner or an existing, your loyal salon. And then we also are the leading underlying software provider for the industry in Europe. So in addition to the customer marketplace you all might be more familiar with, we're also the software driver for partners who are looking to manage not just their online appointments, but their offline appointments too. We operate in 11 different countries. The UK is our biggest market and represents for us about 1/3 of our business. But we're sort of right across Europe. And I think it's interesting being part of this panel now because obviously over the last couple of months, we have had the experience of closing down the industry in 11 different countries and reopening the industry in 9 of the 11. So obviously Northern Ireland and the UK being the two we're waiting to reopen. Very, very excited to do that. So I'm happy to provide insight over what we've experienced in other markets, what's worked in some countries and what hasn't worked in others. We also represent over 8,000 partners inside of the UK. So a really, really decent portion of the hair and beauty industry is partnered with us, and we're running a bunch of sort of online community forums and have really good access, I think, to what the big concerns of the industry are at the moment, both independent operators and everything from small salons to large hair salon chains, your sort of local waxing place. I think we've got a pretty good view over what people are worried about and where I think that the government can sort of learn from others, what's worked well, what hasn't worked well. But I guess my big message is, you're right, it's an industry in crisis. We are seeing very, very early signs of it being, if managed the right way, an industry that can actually grow on the other side of this. So I'm actually really excited to talk about what opportunities we think that we might also be able to see. And then what our sort of big 3 themes of I guess our focus are, which is inspiring customer trust and confidence to get back in the salon, supporting our salon partners to think about what the new normal might look like, and I think most importantly, making sure as many of our partners can reopen on the other side of this as possible. I think it's worth noting that we're seeing up to about 5% of businesses go out of business in other countries. And so I don't think there's any reason the UK is going to be any different, unfortunately. And so, and you all will have your own economic models on this, obviously, and different industries to learn from. But I think that the first step is just making sure as many partners can reopen as possible, and that's certainly where our priority is at the moment. So very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming. We're very excited to have you here on this panel. It's a different way of doing things, but it's a decent way to do things, isn't it? And especially in this time of crisis when we do need to still be meeting. Not as good as face-to-face, but I'm sure we'll get a chance another day in the future to meet face-to-face. So thank you very much. And Jack, can I welcome you, Jack Tang from Urban? I've been very
thanks Judith. So I'm Jack, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Urban. Urban is also an online platform that's designed for the independents. So we focus on providing software and a marketplace to our community of independent professionals who are working self-employed or as a sole proprietor. So again, we're really sort of, we're born out of a movement in the way that people are changing the way that they're working, particularly with a lot of our independents have traditionally come from brick and mortar environments, have decided to offer their services themselves directly to customers. And so we provide them the software. So in a way, it acts as their sort of online salon. They're able to go through our vetting process to ensure they're qualified, they're fully insured, have the right credentials, and then also peer reviews. A lot of the practitioners that we represent, over 4,000 in the UK, and we're set to process over 100 million of services by 2022. And a lot of them use Urban as a way, as kind of like a LinkedIn profile for themselves, as a way to really legitimize their credentials, to be able to show their history of work to customers. So we operate slightly differently to the other platforms here today, but we are representing a population of 60% of the workforce who are self-employed and have some sort of private gigs themselves. I think it's important, and I've also been part of the advisory panel to the Secretary of State on the COVID secure discussions. I think one of the key points that we want to make on behalf of Urban and also our collective of companies is that there needs to be very clear guidance for mobile working. I think this is the industry that has been underserved. And without guidance, I fear that there will be a growing black market that would exist in a rut. So we operate across UK and France. In France, we've reopened the business. We've seen some really positivity around recovery, and equally, I hope that with the right guidance and the right support from the government, we can really see a very similar level of recovery in the UK as well. So thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you very much, Jack. And now if I can turn to Abby Selby from spabreaks.com. Abby.
Hi everyone, lovely to be with you today. Thank you so much for the invite. Like obviously my previous speakers, I am the founder of spabreaks.com. We're the UK's largest spa break booking platform, essentially. We work with over 900 spas in the UK and Ireland. 99% of our business is domestic, so travelling within the UK and Ireland. We send about 7,000 people to spas every week, and 1 million people a month come to the site to inquire and to book with us. We work very heavily in the cancer and personalised wellness space. So obviously I sit on the board of the UK Spa Association and advise, I guess, really from a consumer point of view around spas, and certainly the encouraging, I guess, marginalised groups of people back into spas, the people with disabilities, the deaf, the blind, and like I said, people with cancer. So I guess we are a hybrid model, unlike kind of Jack and Geo, in the fact that we have a call centre down in Brighton of 50 sales agents. So our customers can book not only online, but also through the telephone. And as you can imagine, all elements of our business have been significantly affected by COVID and continue to be. I think we have, I have a product team of 10 ladies and gentlemen out on the road building relationships with the spas that we work with every day. And it's really those relationships that have managed to get us through the last 8 to 10 weeks. And I guess my biggest challenge and question, and I'm looking for advice today and support around ensuring that the communication on hotel versus spa opening is handled correctly, because certainly for me at the moment, trying to communicate to consumers a differing message both at hotel and spa level for over 900 of my key partners is proving to be a huge challenge, and certainly one that I feel both consumer and spa are looking at us to help guide them on. So really pleased to be with you all today, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that, Abby. I mean, one of the first questions that I was going to ask was that, do you know, and this is to you all, do you think that the government's current advice on it is clear on when the self-employed can start offering its treatments to consumers again? That's a question for all of you, really.
Perhaps I can start, because we represent, you know, the entire, a big proportion of that. It's very unclear. And as part of the COVID secure guidelines for working in other people's homes, in the original draft, it included, alongside cleaners and cooks, the provision of wellbeing workers, which has since been removed in the latest published version on the 11th of May, which, you know, for us, we have since written a letter to Secretary of State for clarification. This has obviously caused a lot of conflicting information through the federations and associations. We're in close community, in contact with our community, but a lot of them are really at loss because the insurance providers are saying they're not insured. The associations are saying June as part of non-essential retail, and some of them are saying July as part of personal care. So I think, to address the majority of the population, which is self-employed, 60% of the workforce, we do urgently need clarification on what category we sit in. Is it non-essential retail? Is it personal care? Is it what is it? And also equally, this is the population that's been hit the hardest, without the furlough scheme being sort of launched at the same time as the self-employed scheme.
Thank you for that, Jack. That's certainly something that that we should be seeking clarification on for you. Caroline, would you like to come in and ask any questions? You want to kick off as well in terms of parliamentarians asking questions?
Yes, I can. I won't be able to keep my mouth shut, you know that. Hi guys. So I'm interested when you say that you've kept the relationship with having 18 people out on the road. What has that? I mean, what exactly are they doing? You know, who are they talking to? What are they doing?
So we have, as you can imagine, we've got the call centre. So you've got people sat on the telephones dealing with inquiries every day. That obviously we have also furloughed a large amount of our staff. I still have a product team of 2 left that have been, or 4 have been active through the entire time, but I've got 2 left currently as we go into almost like a hibernation stage. And that really is to keep the relationships going. So from our point of view at the moment, we have continued to, well, we had over 7,000 bookings travelling from the Saturday that after Boris announced the kind of the lockdown, right the way through to the end of May, and all those bookings needed to obviously be proactively contacted, change of dates, and everything that needed to go with that. So the communication process behind that has been really essential, in that we have tried very proactively to change dates for customers, so that the spas have this kind of book of forward bookings. We're also speaking to them every day about when they're opening, how they're opening, what packages they'd like to offer, the online portal, so our customers can book online similarly to Treatwell. So they can book a spa break or a spa day online, and they've been able to do that throughout this entire last 10 weeks, 4 dates post. And we had it from the 1st of September, and we're kind of moving those dates as and when a spa tells us that they're happy to open that bit earlier or that bit later. So the communication process through the whole event has been so critical around ensuring not only do the spas know that we're still here, we're still at the end of the phone, we can build content pages and content hubs for them talking about safety and health and safety and what our spas are going to be doing to keep our consumers, you know, safe when they re-enter the premises. So ours has almost been a kind of a bridge between what the spa wants to tell the customer and what the customer wants to know. And I think that's really been a critical role for us over the last 10 weeks with regards to the spas themselves.
But so you can take bookings from September the 1st onwards. Is that the benchmark that you've set from?
So we set that from the outset, really. We actually set it at June the 1st initially, way back in kind of beginning of April, hoping that we'd be back in June. That date's been pushed back obviously now to the 4th of July and subsequently in some instances to the early September. But I think that is really our biggest challenge, because everybody's date at the moment is different. Nobody's working to the same date.
No, but what is it that you're going to be offering at that date? So give us an idea of what treatments you think you're going to be able to book people in on, and what preparation you have made to be able to do that. Because obviously, as much as I'd like to think I can be able to pick up the phone and book a full body massage, that's not going to happen for me, is it, for a while? So give me an idea on what kinds of treatments you think that you are ready, or your service sector partners are ready to deliver, and what preparation they've put into that.
Well, there's 2 points to that, really. And I guess, you know, every day people are still making bookings on my website for July and August at the spas that are open on those dates, that have told us that are open. And actually, you can book treatments as part of that package. So spas are, in some instances, very happy to continue to book treatments and have made no changes to their treatment menu whatsoever. Whereas then on the flip side, some other spas have said, actually, you know what, we only want to go back live with a bed and breakfast stay, an element of dinner, and, you know, the fact that it's just a hotel stay, and actually there won't be any treatments at all. And I think this is an exact case in point, in the fact that actually some spas are thinking they'll be able to come on and offer everything immediately. And some spas are saying to me, actually, we anticipate treatments will be coming back first, and then facilities won't be open until that bit later. So there's a real mix in communication and understanding, I think, at spa level, what they can and can't offer. And I think that's half of the problem.
Yeah, Gio and Jack, are you actually seeing that people are getting prepared to reopen?
Yeah, so maybe I can speak about a lot of people have been looking to us for guidance. And so this is the guidance that we've given, which is our best interpretation of what is sensible. We have cancelled millions of appointments, basically from March, or from April through to end of May, same thing, when we didn't know. And then last week, we gave everyone a week-long window to reschedule, because we want to let our partners have the forward-looking book. But we understand there's some legal ambiguity for even on our side to be able to have appointments in the calendar when we know that the government has said that the vendors should be closed, basically. And so we've opened the books up for most of our partners from the 4th of July. And we can already see that a really, really heavy majority of those partners are very, very booked for all services. So hair, massage, nail, wax, facials. And our plan is to stand with the partners basically when we get guidance about what parts of the industry can reopen and when, and what the timeline is. And we basically work backwards from there. And so, for example, like I'll use Germany. When Germany reopened, they only opened hair, and then they opened up beauty in certain parts of Germany. And so we just would go and cancel those appointments en masse on behalf of our partners and essentially close them down so they couldn't take bookings for that window. So we are seeing bookings across the board from the 4th of July. At this point, I believe it's like up in the hundreds of thousands. I mean,
in the UK?
In the UK, yeah. Yeah. So we've opened the calendar for our partners from the 4th of July, and people can book whatever service is on those menus. So we haven't given any advice to the partners what they should or shouldn't be offering. And I guess that's one of the things that I would say the industry is asking for at the moment is if we think we're going to do a phased reopening. So some countries have chosen not to open massage. Some countries have chosen not to let blow dries take place. Like, as granular and specific as you can be, the more helpful it is for the industry, and the more helpful it will be for us as the sort of online power behind them to do it on behalf of the industry. So we will just, if you say good to go on the 4th of July, we will let all of those bookings stay in. But if you say you can't do massage or you can't do certain parts of it, we would just cancel them. And then the second question is, if you have specifics around things like social distancing. So I know in Lithuania, for example, they've said you can only have one person every 10 square meters. We then support our partners to say, this is how you should think about yield inside of your salon. So here's how many appointments you should think, and here's how you might want to create gaps between customers in your schedule to make sure that you're...
What about gaps between the therapist and the client?
So that, from a software point of view, that's not really, we would provide guidance as a partner. And so we'd say, here's what good could look like in terms of guidelines. We've already published those guidelines around how to think about waiting space and how to think about distancing between customers. But it's very difficult as a software provider to be able to close off services based on it. But we help our partners say, okay, you can only see 15 people in a day based on that. And so here's how you think about building gaps. It's a very, very, one thing to note is such a big proportion of the industry doesn't even take appointments. So some governments, the Netherlands, for example, have said you must take appointments. And I think that's really smart, and it's an acceleration of a meta trend, and definitely something that is, inspires a lot of customer trust and safety and confidence, but it's a big adjustment. And so the industry just needs time, as much time as you can give to think about it.
Your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so I guess the overall overarching objective here is that how do we recover the industry in a safe and secure as possible way? And I think having various different staggering of different types of treatments, I'm not sure that will, whilst the intention is there, I think the patience of the practitioners will run out. They'll just do it anyway, right? And we know, whilst all of our platforms have closed, doing the right thing, we know treatments are happening. We know that's happening, and there's a growing black market. And so really, for Urban, we've taken a 4-pronged strategy. So firstly, it's about education. How do we educate the community about just the basic about COVID? And there are various different online courses online, and WHO has launched a course and so on and so forth, just to give that basic foundational knowledge so that people can make the right judgment in each treatment. I think providing support where possible. So whether it's a case of, Treatwell helping them to kind of, this is, you should implement some form of social distancing, queuing systems, whatever it might be. But also, and this is where we are slightly different, is that we deliver at home. So the number of people that you see a day is not comparable in terms of in a traditional environment. And also customers have that responsibility and ownership over their own environments, which, that's really up to that individual, right? And so I think, that's why, I've encouraged that the separation between mobile work and at home with the rest, because the environment is slightly different. The third thing is about checks and enforcement. So I use the food hygiene standards comparison here. If, government, and there is enough time to implement something where by companies or independents doing certain level of requirements and checks, and they publish it online, similar to the return to work risk assessments for over 50 employees, publish something, this is what we're doing to ensure safety, this will drive transparency to consumers around, I trust this company, I trust this spa, I trust this salon, trust this practitioner to do the right thing, to ensure that they're not going to be putting me at risk, which is going to be an important point. And then finally, it's about risk assessment. I think, all three of our platforms have something that's really unique that non-platform approaches don't have, which is traceability and auditability. We're able to provide some form of measures and features, whether it's on our platforms or whatever it might be, to then ensure risk assessments are conducted, which is part of the guidelines. So for Urban, we have GPS tracking, we have the booking and all that stuff, the customer database to track exactly if someone did have symptoms, how do we trace that? How do we use our platforms, Treatwell and Spa Breaks and Urban's platform, to trace back who are the customers who were there at the time? So we can be really, strong partners as part of this program. And I think this is something that we should all encourage because, it will only provide a lot more traceability to reactivate the industry.
Thanks, Judith.
Thanks, Caroline. I think, is Ruth gone now? So,
Yeah.
Well, if I can throw it open to anybody else who wants to ask any more questions. Everybody's going very quiet here. Okay, well, I'll get...
Sorry.
Go on,
Sorry, I couldn't wait to ask. I think one of the big things is obviously clients won't have been in the salons for a very long time, and it comes down to allergy alert, skin test, all of that, needs to be taken into account with, the online platforms, and salons need to be reminded that these things need to be done. They need to be re-looking at medical forms for the clients that have not been to the salon, perhaps, for 3-6 months, some of the clients. So it's just making sure that they're reconfirmed as salons are opening.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
No worries.
Can I ask a question as well, Judith? Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Just ask you all on timing. So what you're saying is you need enough time to enable you to make preparations to reopen. So what's the earliest date? Is it July the 4th that you could reopen, or would you want to be considered to open before that?
Can I jump in there? So I think there is... I think our industry can't speak for what the health status of the country is, right? So I think our industry wants to open as soon as is safest and healthfully to do so. I think that, it's an industry that has high physical touch, and so is naturally going to be impacted a little bit more. And as Jack said, on the salon side of things, has a lot of people coming through the door. In saying that, I think, this livelihoods conversation that is happening in the country is happening in a very, very real way inside of the industry. And so in the choice between given an extra hour to prepare or being able to open as soon as humanly possible, I think I can unequivocally say they would prefer to open as soon as possible. I guess my point is, if we know when it's going to be, trying to be very, very tight on the communication around what restrictions there will be on physical distancing, if there's going to be category level restrictions. And I'm inclined to agree with Jack. I think if you open the hair and beauty industry, open the whole thing, because it becomes very, very complicated to make exceptions by treatment types, because often multiple treatment types happen within a partner, but running that business on half a business is very hard to do. And there's not huge differences between doing a haircut and a leg wax, even though it feels like there is intuitively. Actually, there's not. And so I think opening as soon as possible, but being really clear about what that timeline would be, where there are exceptions, whether there's going to be distancing in place, and what sort of relief or support might be available. That is what I would say we should share sooner rather than later.
I also think, I think it's also really important here to keep, I know both Jack and Gio are kind of more appointment based, but obviously our business is entirely a full day or overnight, and therefore incorporates an element of the hotel as well as the spa. And I think that's something we've also got to keep in mind, is those clear communication lines around the hotel and the food and beverage element of what we do versus the spa and the use of facilities and thermal facilities and spa gardens and treatments and everything that comes with that. So from my point of view, there's almost a double complication there around kind of joint communications around what the customer can do if they stay overnight, for example, and what they can do if they just go for a day or if they just want to go for a treatment, and what facilities. So I think there's a few points there that, and customer confidence is absolutely everything. I think I completely agree with Jack on what he says around, you know, we need somehow to find a way to instill confidence back into our consumers that makes it, you know, this safe haven and this place of escape that all of our appointments and all of our online platforms offer. We need to go back to that position as quickly as we possibly can.
Thanks for that, Abby. I mean, I would say in terms of consumer confidence and in terms of consumer habits, it must be a worry going forward in terms of how people have changed. How do you think that the online platforms can help rebuild that consumer confidence?
Maybe I can sort of jump in and say how we're thinking about it, but also what we're seeing from industries that are opening up elsewhere. So the first point is, I think we were really worried that people would stay away. And again, I'm talking about sort of your bread and butter hair and beauty in a salon or spa. People are definitely coming back. And so I think that there is an element to which we just need to, you know, once it reopens, we need to just support small business, support local businesses. Here are the hygiene standards that businesses are embracing to get you to feel comfortable to come through the door. There's an element of sort of organic demand that is there that will come back. But what we're seeing is sort of like 3 trends. The first is just more customers are coming online, right? So there is less walk-in. There is, people want to have certainty around a guaranteed appointment. They don't want to wait. They don't want to be queuing, and they want to manage their day very sensibly around how much time they're spending traveling to a salon. The second thing is, like, we're seeing a lot less last minute and sort of peak hour bookings. It's kind of the reverse. We used to have like 60% of our appointments happened at lunchtime and after hours, and now 3 p.m. is when everyone wants to go because they think that it's going to be relatively less empty. And then I think customers and partners are less wanting to offer discounts, which I think speaks to the precarious cash flow position that many in the industry are at. And so we as an online platform, I think our duty now is to rebuild the industry. Whether you're online, whether you're offline, whether you're with Treatwell, whether you're not, we first and foremost know that our most important thing is to get feet through the door. And so we are running a number of like very, very visible, large public campaigns to try to kickstart the consumer confidence piece. And so that's going to be the focus of our sort of B2C communications over the rest of the year. And it's also how we're supporting our partners. Like we're trying to say, these are the messages you need to land to get your own clients to come back through the doors.
Can I ask, it's probably for Georgia and Jack mostly, when we're talking about treatment. So your relationship with your therapist then, so do they pay you to make the bookings? Do they pay an affiliation? And have you suspended those fees during COVID, or are they still paying? Or give me a bit of background as to how that relationship looks. And then to flip that on its head, what have you guys done anything, not just in terms of promotion, but in terms of financial support to your therapists to keep them afloat during this tough time? Because everyone I'm talking to, and Jack, I have everything I have done in the house. I have somebody who comes to do my nails, I have somebody who does my waxing, somebody who does my hair, and somebody who does my massage. They are my favourite people in my life, apart from Judith Cummins. You know, I love these people, and I text them regularly because I'm really worried that they may not be well enough to come back and look after me when this is all over, and I will be devastated. But you know, I know that they are all financially struggling because they're not earning anything. I bumped into somebody this week who's actually was doing a mobile hairdressing. She's had to go on universal credit because her income, going back 3 years, she only worked 3 days a week, and therefore what she would have got from the government grant wasn't worth having. So she's gone on universal credit. So I'm worried about how they are managing. I'm also really worried about the fact that we know people are working on the black market, as you've said, Jack. And from my bit of research, it's either been people who can't afford not to do it, are being pressured into doing it because customers are saying we're going to go elsewhere if you don't do it. Or they are people who would traditionally not have abide by rules and regulations anyway, and are making absolutely extortionate money out of just, like, I know somebody, a young lad, very vain, but a young lad, who's paid £100 for a haircut, which in little old Swansea is obscene, when you could probably get it done for about £8 if you'd waited for the barbers to open. So all these things are in the mix. One, it's not going to do the industry any good to have this reputation. But two, I'm really worried about the financial impact on those who you rely on to actually do the jobs that you are charging them for, in effect. So I think how goes first.
Yeah, so our platform, we're all about financial empowerment to practitioners. We connect them directly with the end customers, and our business takes 25% of the ticket price. So that's our model. So out of a £50 massage, we take £10 from that. So from day one, our practitioner partners are, on average, making anything from £800 to £1,500 per week on our platform. So just to kind of baseline that they've had a very, very steady level of income and a really fair share of the economics. But beyond that, we did three things to support our practitioners during this time. So firstly, we launched mid-March an online experience library. So whilst you can't offer a massage virtually, you can obviously offer self-massage or massage training, tutorials or workshops that therapists within our community have offered. They've offered also makeup lessons, they've offered personal training classes, yoga classes, and so on and so forth.
Why did I not know about this?
Sorry?
Why did I not know about this? Carry on.
So that's the first thing that we've done. And also, interestingly, because of the digital nature, we've been able to allow them to offer their services beyond their normal service areas. So that's really, really exciting. We've also opened up our platform to help small boutique fitness studios that have been heavily impacted. So we have companies like Frame, which is a boutique studio in London. Core Collective is another one. Both of them have offered used our platform to offer group classes. So they're selling £5 to £10 tickets, 20 to 30 people per hour. So really making some good money to sustain their business during this tough time.
Not through Zoom then, presumably.
No, it's through our own proprietary technology and our platform.
It is virtual, not in real time. Yeah.
Exactly. The second thing is that we've gathered a bunch of financial support measures. So we've hired someone, a retainer, to offer financial counselling during these times. So running webinars for these independents to how to manage their money effectively. What schemes they can get support from the government. We've also negotiated all of their costs that they would have had, like insurance freezes and so on and so forth, as well as we brought in a lending partner who would offer short-term bridge financing to their June self-employment rebates as well. So we've done various different things to make sure their cash flow it has been maintained and ensuring that they're making sure that their well-being is looked after.
I think on our end, very similar. So we the very first communication we sent to our partners was here's what we're doing to help you close down the industry, which was their highest concern. And by the way, it goes without saying, we've waived all of our fees and we'll continue to waive. So we charge a monthly software fee and we will continue to waive that until the industry reopens. We also, again, our biggest obligation is to rebuild the industry. And so we've literally looked in our bank account and seen how long we could go waiving our new customer fees. So we only charge a percentage on when new customers book. And for the month of April, we said to all of our partners in all of our countries, any customer who books in April, we won't charge new customer fees. And we are sort of really closely watching. We're trying to work out what part of our cost base we can pass on to the partner base. But we think it's more, for us, the financial stuff is on the other side, which is that we know that, you know, being able to spend the millions of pounds that we do every year on B2C advertising will take that burden away from the partners as they reopen. And so, of course, we've waived our fees, but we'll also try to take on a lot of their costs as they think about reopening.
Okay. Do any of you produce product? So none of you produce product, or none of you were selling online product at this time during lockdown?
We are a reseller for various different brands, so like Dermalogica, you know.
Okay, and are you seeing a huge increase in online sales of product?
Because most of our product sales is prescriptive to the treatment. So if you had a facial, for example, with Dermalogica, then we would prescribe what products you should buy. So therefore, no, we've had a, you know, we've not seen an uplift. But I know, for example, like the Hut Group has seen an uplift.
Because one of the things that Judith and I have been considering is that given that the product side of life is doing very well, thank you very much, and that's fantastic, there must be a way that the product side can support the service side financially. Otherwise, there won't be a service provider to actually use the product going forward. Have you heard of any of these conversations happening?
I know that the product houses are actually playing a very big part in helping and supporting the spas understand and create their reopening plans. So I know that the product houses themselves, the likes of Elemis and Espar, etc., are taking a very proactive role in working with the spas to help them create their opening plans. I know from our point of view, we sell gift vouchers on our website, and gift voucher sales have increased over the last 3 months, as you can imagine, and you can buy. Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. But then that's where all of our marketing has gone to try and support the industry again, when gift vouchers have a 12-month validity, which means, you know, the spas will benefit from that hopefully in the next kind of 6 to 12 months when the customers come to redeem when everything's open. So that's been our kind of real commitment to the spas to keep trying to sell those vouchers, which in turn will result in sales. And you can buy products on our site to go alongside those gift vouchers, and those sales have increased as well. So I think products, we're actually in the process of creating a whole gift section on our website where we will be selling products for people, because I think, again, just trying to get people invested in the industry at our level, which will then in turn pay dividends for the spas themselves when they're selling their own products when the customer turns up. So lots to be done in that area, I feel.
So this gives me another idea here. If you guys, I mean, not so much you, Abby, because you're already doing, to the other two, do you give gift vouchers?
So we don't do gift vouchers. It's part of a legacy thing with our platform, but it's also, we're really worried about out of business rates. Like it's very difficult when we know what the rate of out of business is to feel like.
I'm just trying to come up with an out of the box kind of way where the product sector could support the small, I mean, I get it with the spas, Abby, I get that entirely, but I'm also worried about, you know, the Lisa Davises who actually only have their own pair of hands. Now, if the product side of thing were able to buy gift vouchers through you guys, that the money from those gift vouchers would go back to the small firms, the small one-man bands. So we're not asking the product side to make a donation. We're asking them to buy a whole load of gift vouchers, which you guys could then, do you get what I mean? So that they're actually going to be giving something back, especially when any kind of business, salon, individual is only using one sort of product. If they are an Elemis or I can't even remember the names now, or a L'Oreal salon, then surely it's in the interest of those big cosmetic companies to financially support the businesses who are buying from them, because going forward, without those salons or individuals, they wouldn't be selling their product. Does that sound silly? Or
I think that I mean, I can't speak for that part of the product industry. I know that Coty, for example, has just had to sell off its professional. They've just sold it, I think, to KKR. I think that part of the industry is also in quite a bit of pain at the moment. But I think if I was a Weller and I wanted to think about how to support the industry, I would just give a payment break, like a straight up payment break, which is what we've done. Like, I don't know how to best use. I think the trend on products is going more retail than local. I think that, you know, people were buying consumer products from the sort of retailers, and to try to reverse that and to get people to shop locally for a hair product is probably, I think the ship has sailed on that one, unfortunately.
Okay.
But a payment break from the L'Oreal's, the Estes, and the
payment break. Well, I mean, do they actually have to pay an affiliation to L'Oreal in order to be able to use their product, or?
It's a bit of a web, like the way that I don't totally understand, and it's kind of.
Caroline, can you help us on this one?
Generally what happens is salons are affiliated with one sort of brand usually, so they're either a L'Oreal salon or they're a Wella salon or the Dermalogica, and what they tend to do is have the full ranges in as part of that. So one of the things we've gone to Bays and said is, what can salons do now? Well, they can provide their customers with retail products. So they could do a click and collect service. So nobody could come up physically into the salon, but the salon could provide the retail products to them. So the client may be able to maintain, you know, a skincare routine or, you know, the hair product side of things.
But when Georgie says about the break from payment, what is that payment? Are they paying to be affiliated to L'Oreal, or do they just pay for the product, or what happens?
Well, sometimes with some certain product ranges, you pay and you have to buy a certain amount to become a certain type of salon. It's part of their contracts, and that you should use all their products as part of that. It's like what she said. It's a bit of a web, and it depends on which company you're working with as to what you brought in. It's like having a Sky package, you know what I mean? You buy bump, and this is what you get charged. And it's a similar sort of process with some of the big companies.
But the
first
first
payment breaks at the moment.
Yeah. And the first,
I feel a campaign coming on your love.
Typically, how much would that payment be, say, per month, Caroline?
It all depends on the salon and the product manufacturers. So some are tied into a contract. So it might be, you know, they might be tied in for a year's contract to actually have this product in. And they might have a system where they have to buy X amount of products on a basis. So sometimes a product manufacturer will help a salon refurb the salon and provide equipment, and the way they can pay that back is by buying their products and tying into a contract for like a year or 2 years, which means they don't have the upfront payment of actually kitting out the salon, but then they're paying it by they're paying a little bit of extra incentive on the, you know, the products and the stuff that they're buying from that manufacturer. So there's various different ways that happens.
I think for me, if I think about, you know, the underlying profit drivers of the industry. On the cost side, it's the cost of staff, the cost of rent, the cost of water, the cost of your products, and then your cost of marketing. And so we are all trying to variabilize that and make it tied to performance, and being with us is cheaper than trying to do it yourself. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot to do on the cost side, to be honest. I think outside of the rent piece, which I think could be, you know, lobbying the commercial landlords to give a rent break, is probably the single most. We have examples of customers paying the rent of our salons. Like, we've got an 83-year-old woman who's paying the rent of her nail salon that's about to go out of business. But if I had to put my lobbying power anywhere on the cost side, it would be rent. But the single biggest thing we can do is on the revenue side. I think that making sure the industry comes back and comes back strong, and that we think about how to inspire customer confidence and trust together is the most powerful way to make sure that they stay in business. For me, I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, for us at Urban, we're completely variable based business. So, practitioners don't have rates to pay. They have a variable cost for travel and their oils, equipment, whatever it might be. I think that one big topic that we haven't really discussed about the recovery of revenue is the utilization of brick and mortar, because with social distancing and the lack of guidance around optimizing brick and mortar locations, most salons will be operating at 30 to 50% capacity if they're lucky. We're speaking to a national hair chain right now who are considering of moving their business, half of their employees onto mobile through Urban. And that's because they know that they cannot bring back all their employees, because if they can operate at 50% levels, 50% of them will be out of a job. So how do we retain them is looking at mobile and seeing how that through our technologies, how we can facilitate that market to also continue to recover those units and volumes of treatments that are happening, alongside strong consumer confidence campaign, which both Treatwell Urban, Starbreaks.com are very good at marketing to our consumers with the right guidance and the right things that we can use as part of our communication.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anybody else want to chip in? We've got a few more minutes left.
Can I just ask one thing, Judith, on building up consumer confidence, because you've also talked about how important that is. Maybe Gio, you can talk about this from your experience elsewhere as well. You're going to work to help build up consumer confidence, but what could this group do? What could the government do to really try and get people to feel comfortable to go back and start seeing therapists and to go to salons?
So on our side, I think there's three kind of themes when we think about rebuilding consumer confidence. The first is trust and assurance. The second is local and community and supporting small businesses. And the third thing is celebration. So we're really, what is the role of hair and beauty? And I'm super bullish on hair and beauty. I think that we are all looking for more human connection. We're all looking for, I think the industry is going to grow. I think it really is. And we've just got to make sure that we get everyone through this hump to make the most of that. I think in terms of this group, I would really, the financial side of it is very meaningful. Like, I think making sure that there was some sort of way that businesses that were about to go out of business could have a lifeline to prevent that and make it through the 90 days, which is what we're seeing is around the mark that we think is what you need to get through. I think that is one. I think that real clarity, I understand. I don't think the way that the industry was closed down was the best it could have been. And I've seen good and bad on the other side, and would love to, honestly, I'm happy to put through some thoughts on an email about pitfalls and things to avoid, but clarity around when you can go back and what you can go back for, and anything that you're going to do around supporting small businesses. I think that the hair and beauty industry is probably one of the, right up there with restaurants in terms of the most at risk and the biggest in terms of crisis. And so I would love to see the UK do what has happened in the US, which is it turned into this amazing movement of supporting small businesses. And so we have let's use our brand team to help the government think about, we have amazing resources and thinking on this. And I would just love a shop local campaign to come out of this. And I think it would be one of the good things.
I agree.
I think if you have any thoughts, they would be really useful for Carolyn. You probably say the same, but any thoughts you want to write down would be great for us.
Very happy to.
Yes, please. That goes to all three of our speakers.
Yeah. Thank you. I also feel another point, which, because obviously I'm a bit more probably consumer facing than I am sort of trade, is actually I feel that we really lack an authoritative voice in our kind of consumer world. And actually what's going to grow the most confidence is by thinking that our spas or our salons have had this kind of stamp of whoever it is or whatever it is, but actually just the real presence, and I think the importance of an authoritative voice saying, yes, you know, this is what's happening, we're all unified, this is what's been discussed, this is safe, and actually, you know, you can do this, that and the other, and as a result, here's the stamp. I feel that we as an industry, and it probably goes to Gio's point about how actually the shutdown of the industry really wasn't handled that well, because everybody was scrabbling around, because we don't really fall into any specific category. And therefore I think if we could come out of this with this authoritative voice and this body that could possibly I guess give the consumer confidence that we all know what we're talking about and we're all unified, would be really powerful. I think our industry definitely lacks that kind of serious face or serious representation.
I can help you with that, because that's what the APPG was set up for, was to actually give the industry a voice within Westminster, for people to stop thinking of it as a pink and fluffy existence that doesn't really mean anything to anyone, because it's incredibly important, not just to the economy and for jobs, but in terms of mental health. You know, I don't think there's anyone on here wouldn't feel better if they were to have some human contact and something done, which didn't mean going to the pound shop to get some stupid thing just to make you feel slightly better than you did the day before, because that's where we all are, let's be honest about it. And we would be delighted to help you. We'll be a serious voice, no problem.
That'd be great.
On the day when I'm being serious.
Well, thank you. I'm sure that everybody will agree that this has been a really important and informative session. And thank you so much, because our speakers have really given us a lot of food for thought there. There's a lot of information. And me and my co-chair, Caroline Harris, the wonderful Caroline Harris, will be writing directly to the government to share with them what we've learned today. And we'll also make sure that we make available online, and the secretariats will share the link once that it's ready, the transcript of this session. The group will also summarise the session and publish it on the Beauty and Wellbeing APPG website. Caroline, do you want to add anything else? You want to sum up or summarise?
Only that, I mean, I've had a lot of requests from different newspapers and magazines over the last couple of weeks about different aspects of the industry. So if there's an opportunity for Judith and I to do a press release or an op-ed or something that's in support of the work that you guys do, then obviously we will do that. And in fact, we will do that. I'm sure we've done every other one. It seems to be something that every week somebody's asking us a question about the industry and about how we can say more about where we need to be and what we need to do to get us there. And so we will do you some nice stuff for me that is out there in the public.
I think it'd be great to write on this rebuilding of consumer confidence and getting the industry going and regenerating the industry. So if you
can maybe do that with Elle Magazine, who I was speaking to last week, and are really interested in continuing the conversation on how we can do more. So we can sort out between you, Judith, and I can sort with you, Kath, and I'll get in touch with Elle Magazine and see if they're interested in doing some kind of feature on consumer confidence.
And we're happy to share insights of what we were seeing before, what we've seen in other countries, what we think the picture is going to look like on the other side for partners, for customers. Like, I think anything we can do to support people coming through the doors is best for everyone.
Yeah. All of your thoughts would be amazing. Do you write
here as well for the independents?
Can I ask a question, because I'd be remiss not to ask? Do you have a sense of what the date will be?
No.
Okay.
So sorry, I can't.
That's all right. No,
I wouldn't even like to hazard a guess. I mean, and I live in Wales, so it'll be different.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just wish they'd open hairdressers only for me. Never mind every other bugger, but not doing it.
Yeah.
No, but if we did, we would share with you. And as soon as we've got something, we will share with you.
We have been and will continue to push for clarity, because I just know it's so important to businesses. How can you plan without clarity? So we will continue to try and get information for you.
Thank you.
If it's okay, can I send you a follow-up email just with some of the points?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Please, yeah, Jack, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Safe journey home, and I'll see some of you soon.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Keep safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.